He's one of the most famous multitaskers of all time, the original Renaissance man, an artist and inventor whose ideas outstripped his own age. The tank, the diving suit, the helicopter. But little-known evidence has come to light that suggests a different story, one far less revolutionary than commonly believed.
He is very aware of the knowledge of his time, and he draws from this knowledge.
Could it be that this medieval superstar was not, after all, a man ahead of his time? In an investigation which delves into the actual technological advances of the 15th and 16th century Europe, and uses modern tools to peel back the layers of this most iconic painting, we open the mystery files on Leonardo da Vinci. Italy in the 16th century, one of the greatest eras of innovation in arts, engineering and science the world has ever known. And perhaps its most celebrated figure is Leonardo da Vinci. In the centuries since his death, he has been transformed into an almost godlike symbol of the Italian Renaissance. Renaissance historian Monica Azzolini is exploring Da Vinci's elevation to the highest rank of Italy's great artists.
Leonardo over time has become almost an icon. So there is this romantic idea of the Renaissance genius, and he has embodied that idea. So it's very much a kind of creation of a myth that represents all that is good about the Renaissance.
The investigation into how Leonardo and his cult status begins in 1542 in the town of Vinci in Tuscany. Leonardo is born the bastard son of a peasant girl and a respected notary. Yet despite these humble beginnings, Leonardo will go on to influence the thinking of virtually every path of learning. But it was only long after his death that the staggering extent of ideas and disciplines Leonardo turns his talents to becomes clear.
Leonardo's notebooks become accessible for the first time in the late 19th century. The German scholar Jean-Paul Richter starts transcribing and then translates a large number of his notebooks. And with the publication of his work in the late 19th century, the content of his notebooks becomes finally available and accessible to scholars.
Astounded by ideas and inventiveness captured in his notebooks, the public begins to revere Leonardo as some kind of supernatural genius.
The perception of Leonardo changes because scholars realize the vast amount of his knowledge, the variety of his subjects, and therefore the perception of Leonardo as a polymath develops.
He begins to be seen as a man capable of almost anything. Yet experts are uncovering evidence that some of the ideas in Leonardo's notebooks may not, after all, have originated in the mind of the great man himself. Leonardo's precocious talent had, in fact, brought him in direct contact with many of the movers and shakers of the Renaissance. In the late 15th century, the great art patron Ludovico Sforza seizes the Duchy of Milan from his nephew. He takes over the family seat in Milan, the Sforza Castle, and hires the leading artists and engineers to adorn it. In 1482, Leonardo is invited to join Sforza's select circle. He stays at the castle for 17 years. In 1496, Luca Pacioli, the eminent mathematician, moves into Sforza's court.
While teaching in Milan, he gets to know Leonardo, and Leonardo learns much of his mathematics from Luca Pacioli. So there was a sort of relationship of student-pupil.
In 1499, the French invade Italy, and Sforza is toppled from power. Now without a patron, Leonardo and Pacioli leave Milan, but carry on their collaboration.
Leonardo himself then helps Pacioli. He's credited with having drawn the polyedra, that is to say the solids that are in one of Pacioli's most distinguished works, the Divina Proporzione, on divine proportion.
The mathematical knowledge he soaks up while with Pacioli underpins much of the engineering work he will later become renowned for. And maths is not the only area where Leonardo learns from others. Further investigations appear to have uncovered the inspiration for some of Leonardo's famous inventions. The diving suit, the tank, the flying machines. Could it be that these futuristic designs were not conceived by Leonardo da Vinci? Professor Paolo Galluzzi has extensively studied Italy's scientific heritage. From Florence, he is well placed to investigate Leonardo's links to other engineers of the Renaissance.
If we want to approach the real Leonardo, the historical Leonardo, we have to put Leonardo into context.
In the beginning of the Renaissance, there is a flourishing of technological advancement in Siena. A hotbed of activity, Siena becomes a center of engineering innovation. Only 50 kilometers separate the cities. A new movement emerges that tries to combine classical technology with the development of experimental devices. Mariano Taccola is at the forefront of this new breed of engineers.
Taccola is a very important step in this because his manuscripts are full of images, hundreds and hundreds of images of machines. It's a revolution compared to what we have before.
The Italian Renaissance towns are filled with statues of their illustrious former residents, but Taccola is surprisingly not celebrated as extensively. In spite of this, 5 surviving volumes of this groundbreaking artist-engineer's work serve as recognition to his ingenuity. And the similarities between Taccola's drawings and Leonardo's notebooks are hard to ignore. There is even a figure resembling the Vitruvian Man, albeit cruder than Leonardo's famous drawing. And there is documentary evidence that Leonardo saw Taccola's work. Francesco di Giorgio, another prominent Sienese engineer, inherited all of Taccola's manuscripts and based some of his work on them, improving the quality of design and illustration, just as Leonardo would later do with di Giorgio's.